Discipline is not about feeling ready. It's about acting without permission from your emotions. Every person you admire, every winner you respect, built their life on one rule. They do it whether they feel like it or not. Motivation fades, but systems endure. In this audiobook, you will learn how to build a system of discipline so powerful, so automatic that success becomes inevitable. This is not about hype. It's about control. It's about mastery. It's about becoming unstoppable.
Chapter 1. Stop waiting to feel ready. You've been waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right feeling, waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. But here's the truth. Motivation isn't coming. You've been conditioned to believe you need to feel ready before you move. You've been told that inspiration must lead action. But that's backward. The truth is simple. Action creates readiness. Action builds momentum. Action is what wakes up your focus, your energy, your drive. Discipline begins where motivation dies. That's the key. When the excitement fades, when the novelty disappears, when no one is watching, that's where the real work starts. You have a choice. Every morning, every moment. A choice between comfort and control, between waiting and working, between being emotional or being disciplined. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Think about soldiers. They don't wait for motivation. They execute. Fatigue doesn't excuse them. Fear doesn't stop them. They follow the system, the habit, the mission. When you see a soldier move at 4 a.m., it's not because they're excited. It's because they've learned to separate action from emotion. The same goes for the athlete, the runner who trains in the rain, the fighter who keeps swinging long after their arms burn, the lifter who grinds through another rep when no one's filming. They don't rely on hype. They rely on habit. And it's the same for the entrepreneur who builds quietly while others scroll and complain. No one sees the 10,000 small, disciplined actions, the late nights, the early mornings, the days when nothing seems to move. They're not motivated. They're disciplined. They've learned what you're learning now. Motivation is a liar. It gives you a burst, then disappears. It makes you chase feelings instead of results. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't ask your permission. It doesn't care how you feel. It cares that you show up. That's the difference between people who talk about changing and people who actually do. You have a choice. Every time you hesitate, every time you overthink, every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you're feeding the weakness that keeps you stuck. Stop waiting. Start. Move. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Let's get practical. You want to get fit? Don't wait to feel inspired. Put your shoes on. Start walking. Don't negotiate. You want to start that business? Stop overanalyzing. Write the first sentence. Register the name. Make the call. You want to be more disciplined? Stop saying you'll be better tomorrow. Start controlling this moment, the next 5 minutes. That's the key. Focus on the act, not the feeling. Every action, no matter how small, builds self-trust, and that's what you're missing. You don't lack motivation. You lack trust in your ability to act without it. Every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you send a message to your mind, "I am in control." Every time you delay action because of fear or fatigue, you send the opposite message, "I am a slave to my emotions." Discipline is a vote for power. Procrastination is a vote for weakness. Which one are you casting today? When you start moving, something shifts. The hesitation dissolves. The energy appears. Action unlocks emotion, not the other way around. Think about it. How many times did you not want to go to the gym, but once you got there, you felt alive? How many times did you dread a task, but once you started, it became easy? That's the proof. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. You will not wake up one day suddenly prepared. You will not find the perfect moment. The stars won't align. The conditions won't be ideal. That's not how change works. Change happens in the moment of decision. Change begins when you stop negotiating with your feelings. Change begins when you move forward while your emotions scream no. The secret is to act in spite of emotion, to take ownership over your behavior, not your mood. Because here's the truth. Emotion is temporary. Discipline is permanent. When you're tired, discipline moves you. When you're frustrated, discipline steadies you. When you're afraid, discipline carries you. Motivation fades when life gets hard. Discipline sharpens. You have a choice every single time. If you want to master discipline, you must destroy your dependence on feeling good. That's right, destroy it. You can't be both addicted to comfort and committed to growth. You can't be ruled by emotion and expect results built on consistency. Discipline demands that you feel everything, the fatigue, the fear, the boredom, and still act. That's the price of progress, and it's worth it. Because once you learn to move without waiting, life opens up. Obstacles shrink, doubt fades, the gap between who you are and who you want to be starts closing, one decision at a time. You become reliable, predictable, steady. The kind of person people can depend on, and more importantly, the kind of person you can depend on. That's the foundation of everything else in this book. Discipline is not built on hype. It's built on repetition. It's built on doing the work over and over, without applause, without emotion, without validation. You're not chasing motivation anymore. You're chasing mastery. And mastery begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready. So here's your challenge. The next time you hear your mind whisper, "Not today," move. When your feelings say, "You're not ready," move. When you're tired, uncertain, afraid, move anyway. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Say it again, out loud if you can. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. This is your new rule, your new standard, your new identity. Because disciplined people don't wait for the right mood, they create the right results. They understand that motion builds momentum, that forward movement, even small, crushes hesitation and fear. That's the power you're building now. Quiet, steady, relentless. You are teaching yourself that feelings don't dictate your future. Decisions do. That's the foundation of the discipline blueprint. And once you've built it, you'll never again depend on motivation. You'll act because it's time. You'll move because it's right. You'll execute because that's who you are. That's how you become unstoppable. You've learned the first rule. Stop waiting. Start acting. You mastered your hesitation. Now it's time to confront the enemy that hides behind every excuse, the addiction to comfort.
Chapter 2. The War Against Comfort. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels good. But comfort is the silent killer of greatness. You think you want peace, but what you really want is progress. And the two don't always coexist. Discipline thrives in discomfort. Growth is born in friction. Comfort, on the other hand, keeps you soft, slow, and stagnant. That's the truth most people never want to face. Your comfort is costing you everything. You have a choice. You can live comfortable and stay the same, or live uncomfortable and evolve. But you can't have both. That's the key. Look around you. Everyone's chasing ease. Everyone's looking for shortcuts, hacks, and balance before they've even earned it. But every easy choice creates a harder life, and every hard choice creates an easier one. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a law. You hit the snooze button, and the day hits you back. You skip the workout, and your energy pays the price. You procrastinate on the task, and your anxiety grows heavier. Easy choices multiply your problems. Hard choices dissolve them. That's the war you're in, the war against comfort. Comfort is clever. It disguises itself as self-care, as taking it easy, as being kind to yourself. But real self-respect comes from doing what must be done, not what feels good in the moment. You have to understand this. The mind adapts to the level of demand you place on it. When you live easy, you train your mind to be fragile. When you live disciplined, you train your mind to be strong. You become what you repeatedly tolerate. If you tolerate weakness, you will embody weakness. If you tolerate discomfort, you will embody power. That's the truth. You don't build resilience by avoiding stress. You build it by facing stress head-on. You don't build confidence by avoiding hard things. You build it by proving again and again that you can handle hard things. And that proof only comes through discomfort. You have a choice. Stay safe or grow stronger. Think about the strongest people you know. The soldier, the fighter, the builder, the entrepreneur. They all have one thing in common. They embrace discomfort on purpose. A soldier doesn't train in comfort. They train in chaos. They're prepared because they've suffered through what breaks others. An athlete doesn't rise by taking rest days disguised as excuses. They rise by pushing their limits until the limits break. An entrepreneur doesn't build success by playing it safe. They step into risk, into fear, into uncertainty, because that's where growth lives. Comfort is where dreams die quietly. You don't need another motivational quote. You need resistance. You need friction. You need challenge. That's how the human spirit grows. Comfort weakens the body. Comfort softens the mind. Comfort steals your edge. And when you lose your edge, you lose your hunger. Once you stop craving growth, life stops giving you opportunities for it. This is how mediocrity takes over, slowly, silently, wrapped in comfort. But not you. Not anymore. You've chosen the harder road. You've chosen discomfort on purpose. You've chosen discipline. Here's what you must do. Start seeking out discomfort daily. Small doses, controlled pressure. Wake up earlier than you want to. Take the cold shower. Do one more rep when your body says no. Speak the truth when silence would be easier. Do the hard thing, not because it feels good, but because it builds you. That's how you win the war against comfort, by making discomfort your ally. Repeat that. Discomfort is your ally, because discomfort doesn't destroy you. It exposes you. It shows you where you're weak and gives you the chance to fix it. Every time you avoid that feeling, you stay the same. Every time you face it, you evolve. It's not about pain. It's about power. You have to understand the life you want lives on the other side of resistance. Every dream you have requires a stronger version of you, and that version doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from sweat, from sacrifice, from deliberate struggle. You don't have to suffer for the sake of suffering, but you do have to stretch yourself past what's easy. That's how muscles grow. That's how discipline grows. That's how character grows. Nothing meaningful is built in comfort. Comfort whispers lies. It tells you that you can rest now, that you've done enough, that you deserve to slow down. But discipline speaks truth. You're not done yet. Discipline says you can do more. Discipline says keep going. Discipline says the feeling of discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's proof you're on the right path. That's the mindset shift that separates the average from the exceptional. Average people flee from discomfort. Disciplined people lean into it. They understand that pain is not punishment, it's progress. Remember this rule. Every time you choose comfort, you delay growth. Every time you choose discomfort, you accelerate it. You can't avoid the discomfort of discipline and escape the discomfort of regret. One hurts now, the other hurts forever. Choose your pain wisely. This is your war, and it never ends. Every day, you'll feel the pull to take it easy, to coast, to do just enough. But every day is another chance to train your mind to obey your command, not your craving. That's the work. That's the blueprint. You have a choice. You can live as a servant to comfort, or you can live as a master of yourself. That's the real freedom discipline offers, the ability to be at peace in discomfort. When you can stand firm in the storm, you no longer need calm seas. When you can thrive under pressure, you no longer fear hard days. When you can find stillness in discomfort, you become unstoppable. Comfort is not your friend. Comfort is the enemy disguised as peace. Your peace comes from progress. Your peace comes from purpose. Your peace comes from knowing you can handle anything. And that strength can only be built in discomfort. So from this moment forward, stop running from the hard things. Run toward them. Lean in. Stay steady. Choose discomfort, because every time you do, you're reminding your mind of the truth. You don't need comfort to be strong. You don't need ease to succeed. You don't need permission to grow. You have the discipline to do it anyway. That's the key. You've declared war on comfort. You've started training your mind for resilience, not relief. You've understood that growth lives inside struggle, and struggle builds strength. Now it's time to take that strength and channel it into consistency. Because discipline isn't about intensity, it's about repetition. You've faced discomfort. Now let's talk about how to master the most powerful habit of all, showing up even when it's boring.
Chapter 3. The Power of Boring Consistency. Everyone wants intensity. Few can handle consistency. They love the idea of transformation, but not the repetition that builds it. They chase the high of starting, the thrill of progress, the dopamine rush of new. But when the work becomes routine, when the excitement fades, they stop. That's why most people never finish what they start. Consistency is boring, but boring is where the magic happens. That's the key. You think success comes from massive effort, but the truth is, success comes from small, repeatable actions, done daily, done quietly, done relentlessly. It's not about intensity, it's about identity. The person who wins is not the one who burns brightest, it's the one who never burns out. Discipline is not a spark, it's a system. Every morning you show up. Every night you finish what you said you would, day after day after day. That's how you build a foundation that never cracks. You have a choice. You can chase excitement or you can build consistency. And only one of those leads to mastery. The truth is simple. Extraordinary results come from ordinary routines. You want to be fit? Lift the same weights at the same time week after week. You want to be wealthy? Save, invest, track, and repeat. You want peace of mind? Meditate daily even when your mind screams to stop. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it works. Because the ordinary, done daily, becomes extraordinary over time. Consistency builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you do what you said you would, you strengthen that inner contract. You build credibility with your own mind. And that's the real victory. When your brain believes you, when your body obeys you, when your actions match your words. That's the power of boring consistency. You don't need to hype yourself up. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need permission from anyone. You just need to keep showing up. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Let's look at the people who actually achieve mastery. The great athlete repeats the same drills every single day. The master craftsman sands, measures, and adjusts until perfection becomes instinct. They understand one thing: repetition isn't punishment, it's power. They don't ask, how can I stay motivated? They ask, how can I stay consistent? That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait for emotion. Professionals rely on systems. You have a choice. Do you want to live like an amateur or build like a professional? Here's a truth most people will never accept. Discipline will feel dull sometimes, and that's okay. The best work of your life will happen when it feels boring, because that's when you're building something permanent. You can't stay on fire forever. You have to learn to work in the calm. The gym session that feels ordinary still counts. The writing session where the words don't flow still matters. The quiet days when progress feels invisible, those are the days that build momentum. Because consistency compounds. You might not see it today, you might not feel it tomorrow, but every small act of discipline is adding weight to your future strength. That's the truth. Boring consistency beats occasional intensity every single time. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop means nothing, but 1,000 drops, 10,000 drops, over time the stone gives way. That's your mind. That's your body. That's your habits. Repetition carves you into who you're becoming. And it's not exciting, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, invisible work that no one applauds. But one day, people will look at you and call it effortless. They'll call it natural. They'll call it talent. They'll never see the hours of boring consistency that built it. And that's fine, because you don't do this for applause. You do this for mastery. Here's what you must understand. The work is not supposed to feel thrilling. It's supposed to feel normal. You're building a life where discipline becomes automatic, not emotional. You're removing negotiation from your daily routine. You're replacing doubt with structure. You're replacing motivation with momentum. That's the blueprint. Consistency is what makes discipline permanent, because the more consistent you are, the less effort it takes to stay consistent. You train your brain to obey without debate. You train your body to move without resistance. You train your emotions to follow your command. That's the freedom you're chasing, the freedom to act without arguing with yourself. That's the key. Let me be clear, this is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most repeatedly. Stop chasing new routines, stop resetting every Monday, stop quitting and restarting the same goals. Pick the few habits that matter and master them through boredom. Because discipline isn't built in the moments of excitement, it's built in the moments when you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. That's when you grow. You have a choice: quit when it's dull or trust the process. The choice defines everything. Consistency is how you outlast everyone else. Because while others burn out chasing peaks, you'll be steady, grounded, unstoppable. You won't rely on motivation because your actions will be automatic. You won't chase excitement because your purpose will be clear. You won't fear boredom because you'll understand it's the birthplace of mastery. The quiet repetition of daily discipline, that's where your greatness hides. So embrace it. Embrace the grind. Embrace the routine. Embrace the monotony. Because it's not boring, it's building you. That's the truth. From now on, I want you to see consistency as your greatest weapon. When it's boring, keep going. When it's slow, keep going. When it feels pointless, keep going. Because every small act of consistency compounds into unstoppable momentum. That's how discipline transforms you. Not in the big moments, but in the quiet, forgettable ones. You've learned how to face discomfort. You've learned how to stay steady through boredom. Now it's time to talk about what makes all of this possible, the strength to control your emotions even when everything around you is chaos. You've mastered consistency. Now let's build your control.
Chapter 4. Emotional control is a superpower. You can train your body. You can sharpen your mind. But if you can't control your emotions, you will lose control of everything. Emotional control is the silent skill behind every form of power. You can have all the discipline in the world, but if you react out of anger, fear, or ego, you destroy what you've built. That's the truth most people miss. Discipline is not just doing the hard thing. It's staying calm when things fall apart. It's holding your line when your emotions scream at you to break it. That's real power. That's the key. Emotional control doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you own what you feel. You observe. You don't react. You pause. You think. Then you act with precision. The undisciplined react. The disciplined respond. Every outburst, every argument, every impulsive decision, it costs you control. And every moment you stay composed, you gain strength. You have a choice: to be a slave to emotion or a master of it. That choice determines whether you collapse under pressure or rise through it. The truth is, emotion is natural. You'll feel anger. You'll feel fear. You'll feel doubt. But feeling something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Most people confuse reaction with strength. They think being loud, fast, and emotional means being powerful. It's not. Real strength is quiet. Real power is stillness. When you can stay calm while others panic, you win. When you can stay centered while others lose control, you lead. That's emotional control. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about directing them. Picture the athlete before the final play. The crowd screaming. The stakes are high. Heart racing.
adrenaline surging. But the best don't crumble. They breathe. They focus. They execute. Why? Because they've trained their emotional system to obey their command. That's not luck. That's discipline. The same principle applies everywhere. Business, relationships, leadership, life. The people who succeed aren't those who feel nothing. They're the ones who don't let feelings make their decisions. They understand that emotion is data, not direction. You don't have to suppress it. You just have to control it. You have a choice. Every time something upsets you, frustrates you, or scares you, you choose reaction or response. You've heard the phrase, keep your cool. But what does that mean, really? It means slowing your mind before your mouth moves. It means watching your emotions rise without letting them take over. It means mastering the pause. Because that pause, that moment of silence, is where discipline lives. That's where you separate yourself from everyone else. That's the space where the weak explode and the strong calculate. That's the key. Here's what emotional control looks like in real life. Someone insults you. You don't fire back. You breathe. You assess. You move on. Something doesn't go your way. You don't spiral. You adapt. You stay the course. A situation turns chaotic. You don't panic. You stay focused. You execute. Each time you choose calm over chaos, you build mental armor. And that armor compounds. Soon, nothing shakes you. Nothing throws you off your path. That's not numbness. It's power. The world doesn't get easier. You get stronger. That's emotional control. Now, let's be real. Emotional control takes practice. You won't master it overnight. You'll slip. You'll react. You'll regret. That's fine. That's the training. You can't expect perfect control right away. You build it the same way you build muscle, one rep at a time. Every time you pause instead of react, that's one rep. Every time you stay calm in frustration, that's one rep. Every time you hold your line when emotion rises, that's one rep. Repeat it daily. Train it deliberately. Emotional control is a skill, not a gift. You don't need to be born calm. You just need to practice calm. Here's a simple strategy to build it. When emotion hits, pause, breathe, observe. Don't label the feeling as good or bad. Just see it. Let it pass through. Name it, claim it, and then act according to your principles, not your impulses. That's the discipline you're training. Because emotional control is not about pretending. It's about prioritizing. You're prioritizing what matters most. The mission, the goal, the higher self. You don't let temporary emotion destroy permanent progress. You've come too far to let a single feeling ruin your focus. You have a choice, and that's the difference between chaos and control. You must remember this. Emotion is not the enemy. Uncontrolled emotion is. Your anger can fuel you, but only if you channel it. Your fear can protect you, but only if you guide it. Your passion can drive you, but only if you control it. Emotion is energy. Discipline is direction. When you combine them, you become unstoppable. But when you let emotion lead, discipline dies. That's why so many fail. They burn out, lash out, give up, because they never learned how to command their emotional energy. You're learning it now. And that's what separates the calm from the chaotic, the grounded from the erratic, the disciplined from the emotional. Emotional control is a superpower because it gives you something rare: clarity. While everyone else is reacting, you're thinking. While they panic, you're planning. While they spiral, you're steady. That's how you win. Through silence, patience, and precision. Because when you're calm, you can see what others can't. You see opportunity where others see threat. You see patterns where others see noise. You see the truth. That's why emotional control is not weakness. It's wisdom. From now on, every time you feel emotion rising, use it as a signal. Not a signal to explode, but a signal to grow. Because every emotional test is a chance to strengthen your discipline. Don't run from it. Face it. Train it. Master it. Emotional control is not a single decision. It's a lifetime of practice. But once you have it, nothing outside you can control you again. That's the goal. That's the power. That's the discipline. So remember, the undisciplined react. The disciplined respond. The weak lose control. The strong stay composed. The emotional break. The calm prevail. You have that power. You're building it right now. Because once your emotions serve your purpose, nothing can stop your progress. That's the foundation of mastery. That's what makes you unstoppable. You've built discipline in discomfort. You've mastered consistency in boredom. You've learned to control your emotions under pressure. Now it's time to go deeper, to build an identity that doesn't just practice discipline, but becomes it. You've gained control. Now let's build the identity that sustains it.
Chapter 5. The Identity of a Disciplined Mind. Discipline is not just what you do. It's who you become. You can force action for a while. You can follow rules. You can copy habits. But until discipline becomes part of your identity, it will always feel like effort. The key to unstoppable progress is this: stop trying to act disciplined. Be disciplined. That's the shift. That's the transformation. You don't need another plan. You don't need another motivation hack. You need to become the kind of person who does what must be done, no matter how they feel. That's the identity of a disciplined mind. Think about it. Anyone can be disciplined for a week. Anyone can work hard when life feels exciting. But the disciplined mind doesn't depend on excitement. It depends on standards. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "Is it required?" Because the disciplined mind lives by principle, not preference. You don't need to wake up motivated. You wake up committed. You don't need to feel inspired. You follow through because that's who you are. That's the difference between temporary effort and permanent identity. Here's the truth. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. If you believe you're inconsistent, you'll act inconsistently. If you believe you're weak, you'll crumble when pressure hits. But if you believe you're disciplined, if you truly see yourself as a person who follows through, your actions will align. Identity drives behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. That's the loop. That's the system. So ask yourself, who am I becoming through my actions? What kind of person follows through when no one's watching? What kind of person stays calm under pressure? Because the disciplined mind doesn't need external validation. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't even need results right away. It needs one thing: alignment with its identity. When your identity is strong, your discipline is automatic. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards, and your standards come from your identity. So you need to define it clearly. You need to decide who you are right now. Not who you want to be someday, who you are today. Because the mind listens. Every time you say, "I'm disciplined," you train your brain to act accordingly. Every time you say, "I always follow through," you reinforce that identity. The more you claim it, the more you become it. That's not pretending, that's programming. You're training your subconscious to see discipline as your default mode. Think of a soldier, think of a surgeon, think of a pilot. They don't question their discipline, they embody it. It's who they are. They don't say, "I'll try to stay calm under pressure." They are calm under pressure. That's identity-based discipline. You don't have to think about doing what's right, you just do it. You don't need willpower, you have standards. That's the power of identity. It removes the debate. Because every time you debate, you lose energy. Every time you hesitate, you lose momentum. Identity eliminates hesitation. When you decide, "This is who I am," you stop negotiating with weakness. Here's what that looks like in daily life. You don't say, "I'll try to wake up early." You say, "I'm the kind of person who wakes up early." You don't say, "I'll try to go to the gym." You say, "I don't miss training." You don't say, "I'll try to stay calm." You say, "I don't lose control." That's the difference between intention and identity. You don't try to be disciplined, you live as a disciplined person. You have a choice, always. You can live from your habits, or you can live from your standards. You can live from emotion, or you can live from identity. Only one path leads to mastery. When you start identifying as a disciplined person, your world begins to change. You stop chasing approval. You stop chasing comfort. You stop chasing shortcuts. Because discipline becomes your default operating system. You start asking different questions. Instead of, "What do I feel like?" you ask, "What does my identity require of me right now?" And you act accordingly. That's self-command. That's power. But here's the challenge. Identity is not built through thoughts alone. It's built through proof. You can say, "I'm disciplined" all you want, but until your actions confirm it, your brain won't believe it. That's why action comes first. You prove it with your behavior. You prove it every time you show up when you don't feel like it. You prove it every time you finish what you start. Each small victory becomes evidence. Each act of follow-through becomes a brick in the identity you're building. That's how you shift from trying to believing. Because once you believe, effort becomes effortless. You don't need motivation. You act because it's who you are. Let's make it simple. If you want to be disciplined, start acting like a disciplined person right now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for transformation. Act the part until it's no longer an act. Because behavior rewires belief. The more you do it, the more it becomes natural. The more natural it becomes, the less resistance you feel. And eventually, you don't even have to think about it at all. That's how identity works. You become the kind of person who doesn't break promises to themselves. That's what makes you unstoppable. Remember, you don't find discipline, you become discipline. And becoming requires proof. Show up, follow through, hold your line. Say it to yourself until it's burned into your mind. I am disciplined. I follow through. I finish what I start. That's not affirmation, that's activation. Every repetition strengthens your identity. Every action reinforces your standard. Soon, you won't even recognize the old version of you, the one who needed motivation, who waited to feel ready, who gave up when emotions hit. That person is gone. You replaced them with someone powerful, someone consistent, someone disciplined. That's the identity of a disciplined mind. You've now built your foundation: consistency, emotional control, and identity. But to maintain it, you must protect it, especially from distraction. Because even the strongest identity can be diluted by noise. You've built discipline within yourself. Now it's time to defend it from the world around you. You mastered identity. Now let's master focus.
Chapter 6. Protect your focus like it's your life. Your focus is your life. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your results grow. So if your focus is scattered, your life will be too. That's the truth most people ignore. They want discipline, they want progress, they want power, but they give their attention to everything except what matters. Focus is not optional, it's survival. You can't build anything meaningful if your mind is always divided. You can't master yourself if your thoughts are constantly hijacked. If you don't protect your focus, the world will steal it from you. That's the key. Every notification, every distraction, every pointless argument, it's not harmless, it's theft. It steals your time. It steals your clarity. It steals your edge. The disciplined mind treats focus like oxygen, non-negotiable, sacred, and limited. Because the truth is, your attention is limited. You only have so much mental energy per day. And most people waste it on noise, scrolling, gossip, reacting, comparing, complaining. Then they wonder why they're exhausted, anxious, and unfulfilled. It's simple. They're bleeding focus. You have a choice: protect it or lose it. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less, better. The disciplined mind simplifies. It removes the unnecessary. It eliminates the noise. Every time you say yes to distraction, you say no to your potential. That's the cost. Every time you pick up your phone when you should be building, you trade depth for dopamine. Every time you react to something irrelevant, you weaken your direction. The mind that is everywhere is nowhere. That's why you must protect your focus like it's your life, because it is. Look at the world's most focused individuals. The elite athlete doesn't train for everything. They train for their game. The top entrepreneur doesn't chase every idea. They execute one vision with ruthless clarity. The soldier doesn't react to noise. They follow the mission. They don't have superhuman abilities. They have filters. They know what matters, and they guard it. Focus is not a gift, it's a discipline. And like every discipline, it's built through boundaries. You can't focus if you refuse to set boundaries. You can't focus if you allow everything to demand your attention. You have to become ruthless about what enters your mental space. That means you say no more often. You turn off the noise.
You protect your time like it's sacred, because it is. You don't owe the world instant access to your mind. Your focus is not free. It's earned and it's guarded. Here's the truth that will change your life. Distraction is not just a bad habit, it's a lifestyle of surrender. Every distraction you entertain tells your mind, this is more important than my purpose. And your brain listens. You train it to chase novelty instead of mastery. You train it to scatter instead of concentrate. That's how focus dies, one small compromise at a time. The disciplined mind doesn't chase novelty, it chases depth. Because mastery lives in repetition, not variety. That's the key. You must build a system that protects your focus automatically. That means physical boundaries, a clean workspace, a phone out of reach, a schedule that protects your deep work. And mental boundaries. Refuse drama. Ignore noise. Don't engage with anything that doesn't serve your mission. Focus is an ecosystem. Every detail matters. Because the more clutter you remove, the sharper your mind becomes. Your environment either supports your discipline or destroys it. Choose carefully. There's a reason the most powerful minds in history were known for their simplicity. Einstein wore the same clothes every day, not because of fashion, but because of focus. He removed trivial decisions so his mind could stay free for creation. That's the principle. Remove friction. Simplify choices. Guard your mind from useless noise. Because every unnecessary decision drains the energy you need for what matters most. That's what the undisciplined never understand. They waste energy deciding instead of doing. Protect your focus. That's how you multiply results. Focus also means emotional control. Because distraction isn't just external, it's internal. Your emotions will try to pull you off course. Fear will distract you. Doubt will distract you. The urge for validation will distract you. You'll start focusing on what others think instead of what you need to build. That's where most people lose themselves. They focus on opinions instead of objectives. They focus on feelings instead of standards. That's the moment you must remember. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You need your mission. Protect that. That's the discipline. Let's make this simple. Every time you feel distracted, ask yourself, does this move me forward or does it pull me away? If it moves you forward, lean in. If it pulls you away, cut it. No negotiation, no debate. That's how you build mental sharpness through thousands of tiny decisions in favor of focus. You can't control every thought, but you can control what you feed it. Feed your focus and your life grows. Feed your distractions and your discipline dies. You have a choice. Here's a truth that will change your life. Your focus determines your future. What you repeatedly give attention to becomes your identity. If you focus on problems, you become a victim. If you focus on progress, you become unstoppable. That's how identity is reinforced, through consistent attention. Protect your focus, and you protect your future. Because a focused mind is a free mind. A distracted mind is a controlled one. The world profits off your distraction. That's why you must reclaim your attention as your greatest weapon. That's real freedom. Focus is not a mood. It's a mission. You can't wait to feel focused. You must create focus. You do that by building systems, removing noise, and living intentionally. Because your mind is a garden. If you don't plant purpose, weeds will take over. Guard it daily. Tend to it relentlessly.
Because the moment you lose focus, you lose direction. And when you lose direction, you lose discipline. That's why this chapter exists, to remind you that focus is your discipline. Without it, everything falls apart. So remember this: protect your focus like it's your life, because it is. Your focus determines your clarity. Your clarity determines your decisions. Your decisions determine your destiny. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things, consistently, quietly, relentlessly. That's how you build momentum that never fades. That's how you become unstoppable. You've learned how to master emotion. You've built an identity rooted in discipline. You've protected your focus from noise. Now, it's time to tackle the silent killer of discipline: validation. Because as long as you crave approval, you'll never be free. You control your emotions. You control your focus. Now it's time to control your need to be seen.
Chapter 7. Stop needing validation. Build inner approval. You can't build real discipline if you're still chasing validation. Because every time you seek approval, you hand over your power. You can't control yourself and please everyone else at the same time. It's impossible. The disciplined mind doesn't move for attention. It moves for purpose. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition. It needs progress. It needs peace. And peace only comes when your validation comes from within. That's the key. Most people live their lives performing. Every choice they make, every action they take, every word they speak, it's all designed to be seen. They're not building, they're signaling. They're not improving, they're impressing. And they're tired, because performing for approval is exhausting. You're constantly editing yourself, adjusting yourself, explaining yourself, trying to fit the expectations of people who aren't even paying attention. You don't need that anymore. You don't need their permission. You need your mission. The truth is simple. When you seek validation, you surrender leadership of your life. You start doing things not because they matter, but because they're noticed. You stop listening to your standards and start chasing reactions. That's how self-discipline dies. Slowly, quietly, under the weight of approval addiction. Because you can't say no to what's wrong when you're afraid to lose people's praise. And the more you seek it, the weaker you become. That's the trap. You become dependent on external applause to feel internally stable. But real strength doesn't need to be seen. It just is. Think about the people who move the world. The thinkers, the builders, the soldiers, the leaders. They don't move for applause. They move for duty. They move for purpose. That's why they're steady when others break. Their validation comes from alignment, not attention. They don't need likes. They need legacy. They don't post their progress. They live it. And when they do speak, the world listens because they've earned it through silence and substance. That's power. That's quiet discipline. You have a choice. You can live for validation, or you can live for values. You can chase approval, or you can chase mastery. You can't have both. The person who needs to be seen will always compromise their standards to stay visible. But the person who values inner approval, they stay true even when no one's watching. That's who you must become. Someone whose peace doesn't depend on the crowd. Someone whose purpose doesn't depend on applause.
You must build a relationship with yourself so solid that external opinions can't shake it. That's real discipline. Here's how you start. You detach your self-worth from external reaction. Stop asking, "What will they think?" Start asking, "What does this say about who I am?" Stop asking, "Will they like this?" Start asking, "Is this aligned with my standard?" That's how you shift from validation to integrity. Because when you're aligned internally, you stop needing proof externally. You know what you stand for. You know what you're building. You know what you believe in. And that's unshakable. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Not your worth, not your talent, not your progress. Because the moment you try to prove, you step out of purpose and into performance. The world doesn't need your performance. It needs your example. You prove through consistency. You prove through calm. You prove through silence. You don't announce your discipline. You embody it. That's what separates the pretenders from the professionals. Here's a truth most people never learn. Validation will never fill you because it was never designed to. It's temporary. It fades fast. It's a drug. And like any drug, it requires more and more to feel less and less. One compliment turns into craving 10. One achievement turns into fear of the next failure. That's not growth. That's dependency. You can't grow if you're chained to other people's opinions. You can't hear your own voice if you're addicted to their noise. That's why quiet confidence is so rare and so powerful. Because it's built on truth, not feedback. Here's what inner approval looks like. You follow through on your word. You keep your promises. You hold your standard. And when you look in the mirror, you trust the person looking back. That's peace. That's validation that never fades. Because when you respect yourself, you stop needing everyone else to. You become your own source of certainty. And when you don't depend on others for confidence, you become untouchable. That's emotional freedom. That's mental toughness. That's discipline. It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. You don't reject feedback, you filter it. You don't ignore others, you prioritize truth. You take what's useful and you discard what's noise. That's how a disciplined mind thinks. You don't need to be understood to be effective. You don't need to be liked to be respected. You need to be consistent. And consistency only comes from inner approval. Because the world's opinions change by the hour, but your standard can remain the same: steady, calm, immovable. From this point forward, make a decision. You will no longer beg for validation. You will no longer need to be seen. You will no longer trade peace for attention. Because you understand now, your value doesn't increase when people notice it. Your value increases when you live it. You are not building for the crowd. You are building for the mirror. And the mirror sees everything. That's who you're accountable to. That's who you're proving yourself to every day, every moment, in silence. So remember, approval is fleeting. Discipline is forever. Validation fades. Integrity compounds. You don't need to feel seen. You need to be solid. You don't need to impress. You need to improve. You don't need their praise. You need your respect. That's the foundation of quiet discipline. You've stopped performing. You've started building. You've replaced approval with alignment. Now it's time to strengthen your mind even further. Because the next level of discipline isn't about emotion or validation, it's about endurance. You've found your focus, you've built your identity, you've silenced a noise. Now let's learn how to endure when life tests everything you've built.
Chapter 8. The Pain of Growth. Endure without complaint. Growth hurts. It always will. That's not a flaw in the process. It is the process. Because growth isn't comfortable. It's not glamorous. It's not supposed to feel easy. Growth breaks you open. It exposes your weaknesses. It stretches your limits. And in that pain, you are remade. That's the price of evolution. That's the cost of mastery. You can't escape it, but you can endure it. And you can endure it without complaint. That's the key. Most people never grow because they think pain means something's wrong. They believe struggle is punishment, not progress. But pain isn't the enemy. Pain is feedback. It's the signal that you're changing. It's proof that you're in motion. The disciplined mind understands this. It doesn't run from discomfort. It studies it. It learns from it. It uses it. Because the truth is simple. You can either suffer for nothing, or you can suffer for growth. You have a choice. Complaining is the easiest way to waste pain. When you complain, you reject the lesson. You tell your mind, this is unfair, instead of, this is building me. And every complaint weakens your resilience. Because when you focus on how hard it is, you forget why you're doing it. Discipline dies in complaint. Growth thrives in silence. The strongest people don't talk about their pain. They transform it. They endure it quietly. They learn from it deeply. They grow through it relentlessly. That's why they win. Enduring without complaint doesn't mean you ignore pain. It means you own it. You don't hide from it. You don't run from it. You don't dramatize it. You acknowledge it, and then you keep moving. That's maturity. That's strength. Because pain is information. It's teaching you something about your limits, your focus, your commitment. It's showing you where you're still fragile. It's showing you where you still rely on comfort. Listen to it, but don't surrender to it. You don't need to feel strong to stay strong. You need to decide to keep going. That's endurance. Look at the soldier in the field, the athlete in the gym, the entrepreneur in the grind. They all share one mindset. I don't complain. They feel the pain, but they don't feed it. They hurt, but they don't broadcast it. Because they understand that complaining is a leak in energy, and energy is everything. Every time you complain, you reinforce weakness. Every time you endure silently, you reinforce strength. That's the equation. You can either talk about your pain or you can let your results speak for it. But you can't do both. The truth is, pain is a test. It's asking you one question. Do you really want this? Every challenge, every setback, every obstacle is testing your claim. It's easy to say, I'm disciplined, when life is calm. But discipline only proves itself under pressure. That's when the weak fold and the strong rise. That's when the trained mind shines, because it doesn't expect comfort. It expects challenge. You can't control when pain arrives, but you can control how you respond to it.
That's the only part that matters. Here's the secret. Pain doesn't just build strength, it reveals it. Every time you endure something difficult, you're shown a deeper layer of your potential. You discover that you can handle more than you thought. You learn that you can push past limits that once scared you. That's why the disciplined don't avoid pain. They use it to recalibrate. They think, if this hurts, it's working. They remind themselves, pain means I'm growing. That's not delusion, that's perspective. Because growth and pain are two sides of the same coin. You can't separate them. You shouldn't want to. So when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're doubting everything, remember this. You're not failing. You're transforming. That pain you feel, that's resistance leaving the body. That's weakness breaking apart. But only if you stay in it. If you quit, the pain becomes pointless. If you endure, the pain becomes power. You have a choice, always, to complain or to convert. One leads to bitterness, the other leads to mastery. Here's what endurance looks like in practice. You show up tired and do it anyway. You feel lost but keep moving forward. You face setbacks but never lose faith in the process. You stop looking for easy. You start looking for worth it. Because everything worth having will test you. The challenge isn't there to break you. It's there to build your threshold. You don't grow when it's easy. You grow when you refuse to quit. That's the moment discipline earns its meaning. You have to remember, complaining doesn't change the pain, it multiplies it. Every word of frustration adds fuel to the fire. But silence turns that fire inward. It becomes focus. It becomes fuel. The disciplined mind suffers quietly because it knows the noise doesn't help. Pain is temporary. Complaining makes it permanent. Don't talk about it. Transform it. Let your endurance speak for you. Let your progress prove your strength. That's how real warriors move. Endurance isn't about toughness, it's about trust. Trusting that every step in pain is building something inside you. Trusting that every trial is refining you. Trusting that every hardship is part of your higher training. You don't need to understand it to endure it. You just need to keep moving through it. Because the reward doesn't come from escaping pain. It comes from evolving through it. That's growth. That's transformation. That's what this chapter is about. So remember, pain is proof of progress. Endurance is the currency of mastery. And silence is the language of strength. You don't need to broadcast your struggle. You need to embody resilience. When you stop complaining, you stop leaking power. And when you stop leaking power, you start multiplying discipline. That's how you become unstoppable. You've learned how to endure pain without complaint. You've proven to yourself that struggle is the forge of strength. Now it's time to talk about something even deeper, the art of stillness. Because after the fight, after the endurance, after the growth, true discipline lives in peace.
Chapter 10. Protect your energy, the final discipline. You've built the mindset. You've built the habits. You've built the discipline. But none of it matters if you don't protect your energy. Energy is the fuel of discipline. It's the foundation of focus. It's the invisible force behind every choice you make. Without energy, even the strongest mindset collapses. Without energy, discipline turns into burnout. Without energy, your purpose dies in exhaustion. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's how you stay sharp. It's how you stay in control. That's the final discipline. The world will test your energy every single day. People will drain it. Situations will steal it. Your own thoughts will sabotage it. And if you don't protect it, you'll wake up one day wondering why you feel empty, why your goals feel heavy, why your focus is gone. You didn't lose your motivation, you lost your energy. And that's the key difference. You can't pour discipline into a leaking mind. You can't build consistency on exhaustion. That's why this chapter exists, to teach you how to protect what fuels your greatness. The first rule is be ruthless with your boundaries. You don't owe everyone access to your time, your attention, or your peace. Every time you say yes to noise, you say no to focus. Every time you engage with drama, you disengage from discipline. Every time you fight battles that don't matter, you weaken your ability to win the ones that do. You have to stop letting people drain you just because you feel guilty saying no. Boundaries aren't walls. They're filters. They keep the right energy in and the wrong energy out. The disciplined don't explain their boundaries. They enforce them. You don't need to justify your peace. You just need to protect it. That's the first law of lasting strength. The second rule is guard your attention like it's gold, because it is. Your attention determines your direction. Whatever captures your focus controls your future. Every scroll, every distraction, every pointless conversation, those are withdrawals from your energy bank. And most people are overdrafted. You can't build discipline in a distracted mind. You have to reclaim your focus. Limit your inputs. Reduce your digital noise. Silence your notifications. When you control what enters your mind, you control what your mind creates. That's how you protect energy in the modern world, through intentional silence. It's not about disconnecting from life. It's about reconnecting to purpose. The third rule is choose your circle with precision. Energy is contagious. If you surround yourself with people who complain, you'll absorb it. If you surround yourself with people who procrastinate, you'll reflect it. If you surround yourself with people who fear risk, you'll inherit their hesitation. You have to curate your circle. Stay close to those who sharpen you. Distance yourself from those who drain you. Walk alone if you must, but never walk with people who dull your discipline. That's not arrogance, that's protection. You don't rise by lowering your standards, you rise by enforcing them. That's how you protect your energy from the influence of weakness. The fourth rule is rest is part of discipline. Rest isn't laziness, it's recovery. Stillness isn't quitting, it's recharging. You can't build consistency if you're running on fumes. You can't make clear decisions if your mind is fogged by fatigue. True discipline is sustainable. It doesn't just push, it preserves. That means scheduling your rest with the same intention as your work. It means protecting your mental space the same way you protect your schedule. Because recovery doesn't take you backward, it prepares you to go farther. Rest renews energy, and energy renews discipline. That's the cycle of mastery. The fifth rule is don't explain your peace to chaotic people. The moment you find calm, chaos will try to pull you back. People who live in noise can't understand silence. People who thrive in drama can't understand detachment. That's not your problem. You don't need to explain why you're not available for gossip, negativity, or distraction. You don't need to explain why you're choosing peace over validation. You don't need their permission to protect your mind. You only need your discipline. Because when you protect your peace, you protect your energy, And when you protect your energy, you protect your future. That's how you win in silence. Protecting your energy is not about isolation. It's about insulation. You're not running away from the world. You're preparing to face it on your terms. You're building a mental armor, a quiet resilience, a shield against distraction, doubt, and drama. That's what true power looks like. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not reactive. It's quiet. It's deliberate. It's in control. You can't be unstoppable if you're constantly drained. You can't stay focused if you're constantly distracted. You must protect what fuels your fire. When you guard your energy, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your confidence stabilizes, your actions align. You stop chasing motivation because you live in momentum. You stop needing validation because you live in conviction. You stop burning out because you live with balance. That's the reward of protecting your energy. It keeps you powerful, consistent, and calm. The disciplined don't rise by chance. They rise by protection. They don't let the world decide their pace, their peace, or their purpose. They decide it themselves every single day. That's what makes them unstoppable. So remember this. You worked too hard to let your energy leak through distraction. You trained too long to let your peace be stolen by noise. You came too far to let the world pull you back into chaos. Protect your energy, protect your focus, protect your discipline. You've built it. Now guard it. That's how you stay unstoppable. Not just today, but for life. You've completed the discipline blueprint. You've learned the mindset, the system, and the stillness. You've learned that real power is quiet, consistent, and controlled. Now, the challenge is simple. Live it. Don't just listen. Don't just understand. Apply it every single day. Because discipline isn't something you do, it's who you become. And when you protect it, nothing can stop you. That's your blueprint. That's your edge. That's your power.
Discipline is the ultimate freedom. It's the quiet, invisible force that builds empires, not through excitement, but through consistency. Every chapter in this audiobook pointed to one truth. Your feelings are irrelevant. Your habits are everything. Stop waiting to feel ready. Build your systems. Embrace boredom. Reject comfort. Control your emotions, and most importantly, act. Every single day without asking your feelings for permission. This is your challenge. Starting tomorrow, pick one habit, one rule, one system, and execute it for 30 days without fail. No excuses, no negotiation. Because when your mind obeys your command, when your discipline becomes automatic, then, and only then, you become unstoppable.